So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and I'm just here at the Pabatakuti, and this is actually the covered walking meditation path. We have a little bit of rain, so I thought to record a short Dhamma discussion here. So I thought that could start with just a little bit of meditation, so can lean forward a bit and arch the spine, and can look about 3 feet in front, and close our eyes. And can focus in on the breath. Can know when it's coming in, and know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know, I'm breathing in a long breath. And if we breathe in a short breath, can just know, I'm breathing in a short breath. And can focus in on the breath at the tip of the nose. And when focusing in on the breath at the tip of the nose, it can be good to keep mindfulness as continuous as possible, being aware all the way through the in-breath. As the in-breath turns to the out-breath, all the way through the out-breath, and as the out-breath turns back to the in-breath again. Trying to keep mindfulness as continuous as possible. And can just pose the question in the mind, what would be a really comfortable way to breathe right now? And one can just let the body respond on its own. Before we finish meditating, can spread thoughts of goodwill Wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite. Can make it unbounded. All the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. And can open our eyes and do a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Ditiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Ditiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Ditiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So hope that everybody's well wherever it might be. And just here at the Pavattakuti, it's a really wonderful opportunity to stay in solitude here in Sri Lanka. And this is actually, it's a cave kuti. Behind there's a cave with, they have these ancient drip ledges. So these opportunities have been in Sri Lanka since ancient times. And so was asked a question a couple months ago, a month or so ago, about breath meditation, or about meditation in general. And sometimes people have these difficulties in meditation where energy goes up to the top of their head and gets stuck in their head. And they kind of may get like headaches, or they may find it very difficult to focus, or they may feel that their focus is too intense. So basically the question was around how to deal with these kind of things, how to deal with energy going up to the top of one's head and kind of getting stuck there with headaches, these kind of various things that might happen. And so there's this kind of, there's this energy system in the body that exists alongside the usual kind of physical systems that we know about in the West, that we learn about in school. And this kind of energy system in the body is one that's known in kind of Asian culture quite a lot. So in Buddhism, breath meditation is called anapanasati. And pana is the Pali word for, I think it was called prana. In the yogic tradition, they have this word prana. Kind of the Buddhist tradition, I think, was before Patanjali's yogic system. But this word prana, it means more than just the kind of air that comes in and out of the lungs, although it includes that. It's also this type of energy that goes through the body. So when we come to meditate, the way that we conceive of the breath, the way that we look at the breath, the way that we think about the breath, that affects the way that this breath energy flows in and out of the body. This is one thing. But also the way that we carry our body during the day, the way that we think, the way that we act, and the way that we talk, the way that we behave. This also affects the way that this energy gets routed throughout the body to a certain extent. It gets routed into certain places and causes tension there, depending on what we intend and how we act and how we think and how we imagine. So the causes for some of these things are, it's not like you can just say one off, this is the cause of having kind of energy problems, getting stuck in your head, or energy getting stuck in one's head, or having headaches, or having problems where one basically feels like too stuck in one's focus and one can't get out of it. All these various problems can have many complex, different causes. So it's not so much the case that one can just say for every one of these problems, okay, this is, if you're having this, then do this and this will work. What it's more like is you have a box full of tools, and one can try out different tools to try to solve the problem. So all this comes under the Buddha's instructions in the Anapanasati Sutta about calming and relaxing the body, more or less. One wants to breathe in and out with this kind of calmed and relaxed body. One of the most important aspects of this in doing breath meditation is that one needs to learn to imagine the breath as not just air, but as energy. And when one has this imagination, one has much more possibilities for playing with the breath, for manipulating the breath in ways that can overcome these problems. So, once heard from a very senior, respected monk who teaches breath meditation. He said he had a student who was talking to a friend of hers who always had these migraines, and said they couldn't meditate, and she told that fellow, breathe from your butt. So one of the things with the conception of breath energy in the body is that one can conceive of pulling breath energy in and out, breathing in and out from almost any part of the body that one likes. So with this kind of conception in mind, it gives a lot more tools. If there's quite a lot of aching in the head is kind of very tightened up, then one can imagine breathing in and out from the stomach, or breathing in and out from the butt, like the the student said. One can also imagine breathing in and out in an area where it's comfortable and the breath energy coming in, gently massaging, gently dissolving away the patterns of tension there. So these are kind of different tools that one can play with. There's so many permutations that to list, one basically has to develop this creativity, this ability to spontaneously come up with solutions to the problem. And try to find creative ways to imagine the breath, creative ways to release the tension, creative ways to play with the breath. So this is one thing. Another thing is that one wants to be really careful about observing cause and effect as one goes through one's day. It's kind of actually, basically, for there to be thoughts in the mind, they require like a locus of tension in the body. Generally, there's kind of a certain amount of tension in the body that allows thoughts to go. This is one of the ways that this kind of energy system interacts. Is kind of if one is thinking, then there's a certain point of tension in the body where that energy system is allowing, kind of like a circuit. There's kind of a tension there, and it allows these kind of thoughts allows the energy to go to places so that one can think. And depending on the patterns in the ways in which one thinks, the patterns of tension in one's body will change. So one wants to be very careful about observing the intentions that one has going throughout the day, kind of comparing the intentions that one has to the intentions that the Buddha describes. If there's a discrepancy there, if one is kind of, say, working in a job where one's doing a lot of evil things, or that can affect the way that one's breath moves through the body. And that can affect patterns of tension in the body. It may be that these patterns of tensions contribute to pain in the head, to a tightness in the head. One wants to kind of observe this, and then one can try to manipulate those. It may also be the case that one has an old injury. Sometimes physical injuries in the body, the way that the body can also work is that there can be a physical injury in the body, and the body can tighten up around that injury. I heard one person describing this thing called fascia or so in the body, this kind of like membrane system that can like harden up. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know about these things, but what can happen is that the body can tighten in one way or another around these kind of injuries. And that tightness pulls at other parts of the body that may not seem related. You can maybe pull at the neck if one has an injury in the back, and has an injury in the foot. It can, it can affect the spine. It can affect the top of the head, depending on which parts of the body tense up to compensate. So if this is the case, then one can try more conventional things like yoga, whatever it might be, to release that tension. One can also try physiotherapy to strengthen the affected area. And one can try to work with the breath energy in such a way that one learns to relax these patterns of tension around the body. If the injury is old, then relaxing the patterns of tension sometimes will not aggravate the injury. If the injury is old and it does aggravate the injury, then one can try to do that in combination with some physiotherapy, these kind of things. So these are a few different ways that that tension, patterns of tension, can kind of appear in the body, and say like in the head, like a kind of this headachiness or difficulty concentrating in the because of this kind of tightness or tension in the head, or this extreme kind of like a focus or whatever it might be that one might have. Another possibility is that the problem might be a karmic problem. It's kind of sometimes there's these things that are, the Buddha calls karmic results. In other words, there's things that one did in the past, and as a result one has this kind of effect in the present. So if one finds one really can't breathe from that area, can't practice breath meditation in that area, or it's difficult to focus in by the nose or anything like that, then again, coming back to the very first point about using imagination, one can try to learn to breathe from different parts of the body where it's comfortable. So in this guided meditation, we just posed the question in the mind: where would be a really, what would be a really comfortable breath, comfortable way to breathe? One can also play with just asking the question, where would be a really comfortable place to breathe from? Might be the center of the chest, might be down by the belly button. And then one, in the short term, can do that while one investigates other avenues for the problem. One of the things with meditation is that sometimes there's no cut and dry answers that apply in every case. This is why usually people are recommended to live underneath a teacher. It's kind of, especially in the if one is a monk or a monastic, especially in the beginning phases of one's practice, because then that teacher will observe all the other things that one is doing and might have an idea of some of the other issues that are surrounding this problem. It's kind of, these things sometimes have multiple different effects. So if one is practicing on one's own, then one has to basically do this on one's own. One has to observe for oneself. But if one can go and find an experienced teacher to live with and stay with them for a long period of time, not just for the time that one asks the question, but developing a relationship with a meditation teacher, with a senior monk or whoever it might be. If one is in the West, there may be not monks available. One can develop relationships with experienced lay meditation teachers as well. In this case, one wants to have like a longer term relationship so that that person will know more about one's personality and may be able to point out things that one hasn't seen, but because of their experience, they've seen other people go through. So those are a few suggestions for trying to tackle this problem of, say, like having tension in the head, having like some described like an extreme focus, tension in different parts of the body. It's basically, there's no cut and dry answer. One has to investigate. But those are some of the tools in the toolbox that one can use. One can use one's imagination to try to conceive of different ways of breathing, different places to breathe from. One can try to, if one investigates it comes from an injury, then one can do maybe a little physiotherapy, a little yoga to alleviate it, observing if it's aggravating the injury or if it's not having much of an effect at all. One also wants to observe how one is going through one's day. If one is doing things, acting in particular ways, these can sometimes create a locus of tension in the body. And if all else fails, there's usually at least some comfortable spot in the body to breathe from. It's not like the whole body is in unceasing pain. Although there are even monks who meditate when their whole body is in really difficult pain. So if this is the case, one can, for the time being, as a stopgap measure, just try breathing in and out from this comfortable place while one gains more time to do one's investigations. So those are a few thoughts, and hope that everybody is keeping well wherever it might be, and wishing all the blessings of Dhamma practice.